Hands-On is sponsored in part by Elmer's Products, Inc., manufacturers of a variety of adhesives, arts and crafts, and office products for use at home, school, or business for over 60 years. www.elmers.com. Stadler Incorporated, inspiring creativity for more than 150 years. Available wherever fine art and craft supplies are sold. www.stadler.us.
This season of Hands-On is all about living things. Learn about the animals and plants that share our environment through great projects. We've divided them into the same classifications used by scientists. First, we divide the animal kingdom by whether or not they have a backbone. Then we look at other characteristics like what they eat, where they live, and their body temperature. The groups will study are amphibians, birds, fish, mammals, and reptiles. For invertebrates, we'll divide them into insects, arachnids, and crustaceans and mollusks. For plants, we'll talk about the way we see and use plants in everyday life. Every project has 5 steps and 5 main ingredients. Plus, you'll want to keep basic supplies like scissors, markers, toothpicks, and rulers on hand. Remember, be creative, and let's learn about living things. Arachnids, or spiders, are an animal and an invertebrate, or without a backbone. They have an exoskeleton, a 2-part segmented body, and 8 jointed legs. They are also predators and attack other animals. First up, what's a spider without a web? Create your own glittery window cling. Then it's time for a very whimsical interpretation of a spider from found materials. Last up, take an in-depth look at a spider with a drawing technique. So let's explore spiders. Every spider needs a web, but I bet you haven't seen one quite this colorful. Here's what you'll need. We're going to start out with 3D paint markers and different glitters. We also have a glass frame. We have 3 colors of cardstock and some freezer paper. And then basics, we have a clear glue, a washable glue stick, some Scotch tape, and scissors. So let's get started. The first thing you want to do is to download the patterns from the website. We have a pattern for the web, one for the spider, and one for the grasses that are going to go at the bottom of your picture. Then I've taken just a scrap piece of cardboard. I've layered the pattern for the web and the one for the spider down, and then I've put my freezer paper on top. I've taped that onto the back just to hold it secure, and you can see right through the freezer paper. Now we're going to start with our 3D pens. You want to start your marker on a piece of paper towel, squeeze it out so you get a nice even flow of color. You can choose whatever color you'd like. So I'm going to go down following my pattern. And now we're just going to have fun and choose different colors. Now you can choose all of the same color. You can make your web a different color. Let's take this orange. Curve it around. And you want this to be fairly thick, because what we're going to use this is to actually cling to the glass. So let's do orange around one, all the way around. Okay, let's go next with a blue color. And again, you can see I'm doing it nice and thick. But see how rich and vibrant the colors are? But they're kind of in a paint or almost a glue medium. So it's kind of a gel surface. These are going to dry 3D. So they'll never really flatten down. This would be a great way to make window clings, different shapes. You could do different ones for different holidays. This one would be great for Halloween. Let's take some red. And let's work on our spider a little bit. I'm going to go around the body of the spider. And fill him in, and fill in all the color. Now you could also even mix colors inside. Especially on the spider, you want it to be nice and thick. So let's see, his whole body is red here. Let's do a clear metallic on one of his legs. And I'm squeezing with a nice even pressure. We'll do another one on this side. And you'd continue on filling in the entire pattern. Then it's really important, you want to let this sit and dry for a really long time, probably overnight, because you want this to be secure. The other thing that's very important, and I'm going to show you on, let's do it with the blue, is you want to make sure that each piece comes up to the other color that you've done. So if you can see right here, I've actually kind of put a little extra bit right there, because you don't want any of these to be individual pieces. You want the spider to dry as all one piece. If you need to, you can even go back and add some red on top, just to make sure that you've got a nice thickness there. Now when this is all done, as I said, we're going to set it aside and let it dry. When it dries overnight, because you've got the freezer paper with this shiny side, even a wax paper would work, these are going to peel right away. They'll actually release from the freezer paper. Now at this point you could use this as a window cling and put it right on your windows, but we're going to go one step further. What I've done is now I've taken my other pattern pieces, which are some grass. You can follow the pattern or just cut them freehand. I've just taken little scraps of green and cut out little zigzags and pieces. So if I wanted to go here, I can use the pattern, or I can just cut a square shape and then go back in and just cut triangles out of it to have a little bit of a grass shape. Now I'm going to take my blue sheet of paper, which has been cut to size, the same size as the frame. So whatever your frame is will determine what size you use. And now I'm going to take my disappearing glue stick. Now this goes on purple, but it's going to dry clear. And I'm going to layer these along the bottom. And I've cut quite a few out, so I've got some to lay down. And I'm going to overlap, put different colors of green. You could do whatever you wanted as far as a scene on the bottom. I'll layer some more on the bottom. And let's make sure we don't have any overlapping the side on this. And let's just throw a couple more on. Put as many as you'd like and overlap. Now, once we've got that all done, then we're going to be very careful and take our frame apart. Your frame is going to have a glass sheet, and then it's going to have the backing. What I've done is popped it out, pop out the frame, pop out the glass, put my blue paper with the prints, with my leaves on the bottom or my grass, and put it inside the glass. So now, as you can see here, this is below the glass, just like you put a picture inside this frame. Now it's time to add my spider web. Now, if I'm going to use the spider web as a window cling, I'd already have used it and I could put it right on the window, but if I'm going to use it on my frame, I'm going to want to add some clear glue to attach it. So I'm going to go to the back, I'm going to squeeze out on the little edges. Now I'm not going to go all the way to the edge because I want him to overlap. And I'll just go across here. Remember, this is going to dry clear, so if I have any extra, then I'm going to take my spider and do the same thing, but it looks so much more realistic if I let him overlap the side. Now, if we take a look at the finished spider web, now you have this beautiful frame or a window cling that can be used all year round.
This next project is a great way to recycle an old disc, and the other things that you're going to need include dimensional paints. We've got some opaque markers. I'm using chenille stems, and you'll need 8 of those. I've also got some fiber, and you could use any kind of fiber for this, old yarn or wool. The disc, like I mentioned. I've got a little scrap of black foam core, and then I'm using a yellow pencil to draw my pattern onto the foam core, and the other basics are tacky glue, some tape, and some craft scissors. And so let's go ahead and get started. And the first thing we're going to do is take that old disc, and we're going to go ahead and color it black, and this is going to be the body of our spider. Now if you wanted to, you could color on either side of this disc. Either side works, and you might even get a little bit of shine showing through from the other side. You can tell that this nice opaque marker is giving really good coverage. And remember that when you're starting these off, you want to push the tip down like this a few times to get the ink flowing. So I'm going to keep going, and as you do this, you want to be a little bit careful because you don't want to get messy. So you might even want to put a little bit of newspaper down underneath your work surface. So go ahead and go all the way around your disc. You might want to even go back and give it a second coat after it dries. And you do want to make sure that it's drying thoroughly. So I'm going to go ahead and set this one aside. And then I'm going to start working on the legs for the spider. And here's one that I've done as a sample. This is very simple. I've taken one chenille stem, and I'm going to form the little loop into about the size of a quarter. I'm going to twist the loop. And the important thing for this is that all of the legs are approximately the same size and especially the same height. So after this is the spider's foot, I'm going to fold up the stem, and then I'm going to match it to my first leg. And so once you've made one, you can just match all of them together. Then I'm going to fold down again, and then this is my second foot. So again, about the size of a quarter. And the size of the quarter is important as well because that's going to give the spider some stability when it's standing, and the legs are going to support your disc. So now you can tell that that one's not very straight, so I mustn't have matched it up very good. I'm just going to realign it so I have a nice straight spot on the top of my legs. So I've got 3. I'll show it to you one more time. We just make a loop about the size of a quarter, twist it around, bend it up and over, matching your size to your first one, down again, another loop, and a twist, and those are your legs. The next step is to have your CD, and you can see I have this one right here, and it's completely dried on top. Again, if you wanted to go back, you could go and touch up the little specks that you missed the first time around. Then we're going to use our tacky glue and glue 4 spots onto the bottom of the disc. Now, this glue does take about an hour to dry, and so to hold the legs in place while it's drying, you can take a piece of tape, and you might even use a second pair of hands, a friend or a parent to help you, and you can tape right down in between all the legs and then set this piece aside to dry as well. The next thing we're going to do while this is drying, we're going to go ahead and bring our spider's head over to here. Now remember also, as you're attaching your spider's legs onto the disc, that you'll need 4 sets of legs for a total of 8 legs for a spider. I'm using my yellow pencil, and I'm circling around. Draw the pattern. You can also transfer the face for this pattern, or you can just do any little face that you want onto the spider. Now I'm going ahead and I'm using a good pair of scissors to cut the foam core. You can also use an X-Acto knife if you'd like to, but again, if you do, you would want to have some parental supervision, especially for younger children. So we'll snip all the way around. And if you just kind of go in straight snips and curve it just that little bit, you'll get a pretty good circle. We're going to cover the top of the circle with fiber, so that's going to hide any rough edges that we end up with. We'll set that side, and we're going to take our opaque markers, and we're going to draw our spider's face. So we'll do a fun curved mouth, and we're going to do some eyes. And if I just do a ring for the eyes and leave the center black, I don't have to go back with a black marker afterwards. Now the nose for the spider is done with the dimensional paints, but you'll want to do that after you've adhered it in place. So you're going to take your fully dried legs and body and a little bit more tacky glue, And we're going to glue the head in place, just like this. And again, because this is going to take a little bit of time to dry, it's good to take a piece of tape and just tape the head in place so that it has some time. The opaque markers dry fairly quickly, so you don't have to worry about smudging those. There we go. Okay, and oh, I better put a piece on the other side too. There we go. So now again, you would set this part aside to dry, and the final step is to put some more tacky glue all around the body and around the top of the head. And you don't have to worry about your glue showing afterwards because it's going to dry clear for you. And we're going to find the end and save a little bit of the end out. Let's put it over here. And then all this little bunch, we're just going to bundle it up and spread it out all over the body. Tap it down so that it's stuck good. And then this part for the head, we're going to loop this up. You could even try doing a couple different colors because I know that some spiders have a little bit of red on them, or they might have some grays in their coloring. And then this part's going to loop around the head and frame the head. There we go. Tuck that piece around. And so again, the final thing to do is to put our face on. And you might now, of course, my spider needs to be dry before I can do the little nose on it. But once your spider is fully dry, you would take the tape off, take your 3D pen, do a little dot for a nose. You could do a heart shape if you wanted to get fancy. And again, we're going to set this aside to dry. So you don't want it to be too vertical because you want it to lay flat so that the paint, even though it's very thick, it will kind of run a little bit if you're not careful. So let's go ahead and we'll take a look at our finished product. You can see how the nose is dry and it's gone that nice deep red, and it's also dimensional. So if you feel the spider's face, it's a little bit of a raise. His eyes are all done, his hair is dry, his creepy little legs are all in place, and he's ready to decorate his spot in your house.
Take a look at this spider that we're going to draw. He looks very intricate, but I promise he's going to be easy. This spider has 2 body parts and 8 segmented legs, and we're going to be using pencils to draw him in. So the things that you'll need are a frame. We've got our sketching and drawing pencils. This is a 12-piece set going from very soft to very hard pencils. And then we have our drawing companions. These are all the pieces and different things that you'll need. And then also our paper. Now to get started, the first thing that we want to do is to kind of sketch out what a spider looks like. And to do that, I'm going to take a very hard pencil. I'm starting with a 2B, and I'm kind of going to just get the idea of what a spider looks like. So I've got 2 body parts. I'm attaching here. It's got the pinchers here. Remember, a spider is a predator. They eat other insects, and I've got segmented legs. So I kind of got an idea of what that was going to be. Now we made it easy for you because we gave you a pattern. This pattern is right on the website, and you can trace this pattern. And to trace it, what you can do is take a softer pencil, go over your lines from the back, and draw all along each one of the lines. Then, when you lay that down, and I'm just going to do this one section of leg right here, when you lay that on your paper, if you trace along it again, and just along the edges, that line is going to appear here so that you have your tracing. You also could use a piece of tracing paper, but it's great to just use your pencils. So I've already started, and I'm going to start my drawing with that 2B pencil. Let me go to my first one here. So I've got it started here. I'm going to go along the edges of my drawing with 2B. And the 2B is a little bit harder lead. It's a very fine. It's going to be that little bit grayer color. I'm going to go all the way along my entire design. Now you can see here I've got a stray line because I wasn't exactly sure where I was going to put that. I can go in with my eraser and erase that. What's so nice about working with a sketch pencil is they're so easy to erase, and you can really control your color. Now the other thing is you can use a plastic eraser or you can use a kneaded eraser. And a kneaded eraser, you're going to work, and the graphite from the pencil is actually going to get right into the eraser, and you can go back in and erase a section. Now I've got my 2B and I've outlined all the way across. Now the next thing I'm going to do is take my 4B pencil and I'm going to start darkening. I'm going to go along the legs and I'm going to darken them in one section at a time. If you take this step by step, it's really easy. Now as I start darkening these lines and going over them, I'm going to also want to make sure that I'm not putting my hand down on top of the part I've drawn. I can put just a Kleenex there to hold it, or another piece of paper, so that I never lean my hand down on the part I've already drawn, so I don't want to smear it. But remember, if you do smear anything, it's very easy to correct it. I'm going to go through here and let's finish this one leg on this side. Now, he's a little bit darker than I'd like, so I'm going to go back in. I can do a little bit of erasing, but before I do that, I'm going to take a paper stump. This is just a rolled up paper, and by rubbing on my surface, do you see how I can blend? None of my pencil lines show at all. So I'm getting that really kind of creamy look, which was going to give you all that detail. And if you see on this one where it's a little darker to one side and a little lighter next to it, you've got that really nice look. So we can go back in and do as much shading as we want. Now the next thing I'm going to do is go in with my 3B pencil. I'm going to go to another leg over here and shade very lightly. What I'm using is different pencils, and they're all numbered. It's a kind of universal numbering system that tells you how hard the pencil is. So again, I'm shading a little bit more. I'm going to get a little bit of darkness to one side. I'm going to go back in again with my paper stump, and I'm going to use the size that fits best for what I'm drawing. Now, the first time you do it, you're going to have less detail, and the second time you're going to get more and more. I'm going to also go back in here where I've started to color in here. Now, the next thing I want to do is add some lines on the leg, and I'm going to use my 5B to add these darker lines here. I'm going to add those in here. And let's work a little bit on his face too. So I'll put in here. His head, so I've got the darker here. Now I'm going to go, I'm using lighter pressure in the center, filling in the center area. And then you can see where this area comes down on the finished one, where it's very, very dark. The softer pencil is going to leave more of the graphite on your surface, so you're going to get darker colors. I'm going to come back in with my blending stump and blend that in. You can see how he's starting to take a little bit more shape. Now the next thing I want to do is to add some dots on the body, and I'm going to pick up my 6B, and those dots on the body are down here, and I'm going to add it just on one side. Let me put this over here. Little tiny dots. Now I don't want to blend those in too much because I want those still to show through. Then I also want to do a little bit of a separation on the leg here. So I'm going to go back in here again on each of the joints. I'm just doing a little bit of the drawing. Obviously, you're going to take a lot of time at home and finish this up and do a lot of detail. The finished one will be on the website too, so that'll help you decide, what you want to add and to follow. Now I'm going to the HB pencil. I'm adding these little teeny hairs that are along the edge of a leg, one at a time. So we've kind of gone over a few techniques. We've got a blending technique using the stump. We can add a dark line to add just a little dot or a line on top. The other thing that you can do is create highlights. Now if I wanted to take away a little color here, I can lay this down And I'll just take a little bit of section right here. I can lay it right on the leg. I can go back in with my eraser by putting the shield over, and I'm removing and putting a highlight here. If I need a highlight in his body, which runs down the center here, again, I can do the same thing. So you're going to want to play with the techniques to find what works best for you and work with your pencils going from the hardest to the softest. So let's take a look at our finished spider. With lots of practice, you can have your spider looking just like this one. And that's all about spiders. On our next show, it's two categories of animals without backbones. We've combined mollusks and crustaceans on one show. Next time on Hands On.
Projects from today's show plus other ideas are available on the web at craftsforkids.com. This is show 1209. Hands On is sponsored in part by Elmer's Products, Inc., manufacturers of a variety of adhesives, arts and crafts, and office products for use at home, school, or business for over 60 years. www.elmers.com. Stadler Incorporated, inspiring creativity for more than 150 years. Available wherever fine art and craft supplies are sold. www.stadler.us.
Hi, I'm Kathy Stahl, host of Hands On Crafts for Kids. I hope you'll join us each week as we show you craft basics and great projects, each with 5 steps and 5 main ingredients. We have a lot of crafting fun in store for you. And remember what we all say at Hands On Crafts for Kids, there's no right or wrong way, only your way. Be creative, have fun. We hope you'll join us for Hands On Crafts for Kids. Lions and tigers and bears, oh my! Hi, I'm Kathy Stahl, host of Hands On Crafts for Kids. Our newest series is all about living things. We'll be crafting projects about mammals, amphibians, reptiles, insects, and more. All the projects have 5 steps and 5 main ingredients. Join us for Hands On Crafts for Kids and be creative and have fun.